All right, that's you.
My point is, I'm Ari, by the way. I say we don't ban guns because there are laws that are enforced, and just like they are enforced, there are people that break them all the time. And besides, there are black markets, you can get it anytime you want, you know? And people that are crazy, they're still gonna get guns whenever they want, or however they want. And like in the Constitution, we have the right to bear arms, and if it's banned, how are we gonna protect ourselves from wackos that are like shooting guns and getting them from somewhere else besides the black market? That's my point.
Bringing back up with that, like the protection rule of like how you said it, what I brought up a while ago, the anger management, the 3 out of 10 people a day become angry and have anger management problems. The protecting yourself, I get that, but half of those people that might be protecting themselves have anger management problems. So how are you going to tell when someone's walking down the street, how are you going to be able to tell who, if you start attacking someone with words because you're stupid and you're not nice, how are you going to be able to tell who's normal and who has anger management problems? Then you'll both have guns, and then you'll be able to both shoot each other. And that's not right, I guess. Yeah, that's not right. Okay.
Adrian.
Going back to what you said, it was a good point, but despite that fact, they didn't have automatic, like full auto, rapid fire guns that can kill a bunch of people in a matter of seconds. And also, people were more sane during the time, which is probably why they gave them the right to bear arms. Nowadays, we have a lot of bad influences due to things such as, like television, movies, all kinds of crap. And that's why some people can go it's a lot easier for somebody to be a little bit more not so good on the mental health side nowadays rather than when that was written.
Alright, you guys are pathetic, not saying a word. We've had like 5 speakers this whole debate and we're already like halfway through it. I know, that's great, so I'm glad you guys raised your hands. But just to throw a wrench in this, I'm going to say something. First of all, Adrian, I believe, if I heard you correctly, you said that people back then when they wrote the Constitution were more sane than we are now. I would have to disagree. I mean, they wrote the Constitution and they included the Electoral College because they thought the general populace was too stupid to vote for a politician. And furthermore, these are the same people who started insurrection against the British Empire because they had to pay more taxes. Nowadays, when we pay more taxes, we just get pissed off, but they don't start a full-on revolution. So those people were a little unstable, if you ask me. Second of all, back to the actual point of gun control. I believe gun control is something that's really silly in America. I mean, sure, we are probably the most free nation, but it's like they give a little, then they take a lot more. Like, oh, you're free, but not on Wednesdays, sort of thing. So we can own guns, but it really depends on the state. So California is a lot more restrictive gun control than, say, Louisiana, where you can own pretty much any kind of gun, really, and you can drive tanks on the streets because they're street legal. It just costs a lot to buy tanks. But the point I want to get to is that gun control, if you can afford to pay for something, then you should be able to buy it. That is simple economics, simple, basically, how society works. If you can pay for something, you should be able to buy it. If there's a supply of something, you should be able to buy it. However, guns are different because people want to buy things that they don't know what it is. There are people who are so rich that they just buy stuff and they're like, oh, I've never even used that. They buy different appliances, they don't know half the stuff on it. They buy an iPhone and can't use all the apps because they don't know how it works, but hey, I got an iPhone, sort of thing. So, the main point is guns, we should be able to own them. Simple as that. If you do it the legal way, then they already have protocol in there to make sure that A, sane people are buying weapons, B, responsible people are buying weapons, and C, everyone is able to buy a weapon who's, over 18. But yeah, so that's what I want to get to. Thanks.
Thank you, Anthony. Montana.
Going back to your point, I just want to point out, let's just say you were talking or being in an argument with someone who
was crazy. And you both had guns, right? I don't think you would shoot first. Just saying. I really doubt that if you were in that situation and you couldn't pick up that they were crazy just from talking to them, you wouldn't shoot them. They would shoot you, in which case you'd be on the floor bleeding. They would either shoot you again or they would leave. So it's a lose-lose situation anyways.
Derek.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on, kind of back up Anthony's views. We will be able to buy whatever we want, and there are already set gun laws and controls. So basically, if someone is crazy and they can't happen to get a gun, they're gonna find a way to get the gun, whether it be on the black market or from other people. There's nothing that we can do about it. So honestly, restricting guns even more would just be unbeneficial. It would just push down it more, if anything.
Cameron.
I'm Cameron. I'm I guess pro-gun, but I think that if you loosen the gun control laws, every argument turns into a deadly battle. I mean, let's say you cut someone off in Target at line, and those moms get crazy as hell. And so in the parking lot, she's like, "You dumb," explicitive, and just pulls out her gun and shoots you. Every argument, every conflict becomes a deadly battle where you roll the dice.
I actually feel like making some logical points now, so I'm going to switch my argument. I'm against guns simply because the first time I saw a gun, off of a range, I had gone shooting before, but the first time I saw a gun was, I was with a friend of mine, and he told me that we were going to some guy's house to buy something from him. And we went, and he takes me into his garage, and on his garage, he has a big old ping pong table, and he's got this huge bowl of stuff, and then 3 guns just chilling on his ping pong table. Not to mention this guy was huge, he was 20 something, and I've never met him in my life. And I was in 7th grade, and I was oh my god, I'm gonna die today. And this guy, I'm sure he was cracked out on something, and I met him after that. He turned out to be a really nice guy, but yeah, he was cracked out half the time that I saw him. So, I do not trust people like that with guns, and I know that there are ways of getting him, because I'm sure, if I would have just been hey, I'll give you $200 for that gun, he would have given it to me. I guarantee it. But obviously I don't need a gun for anything, because, I have knives. Anyways, secondly, if you guys have ever been to Europe, or specifically I went to London, and in London, there are no guns anyway. The cops don't even have guns. The cops, instead of buying guns, just buy full body armor, and they have batons, and I don't know, that's it. They just chase you down and whack you. And for some reason, their crime rates are way lower. I don't know why, but their crime rates are way lower. They got cameras everywhere. I saw 2 cops. I was there for 3 weeks. And I think that those might be related issues, that since they don't have guns, maybe their crime rates are lower. And I feel like that's something that we should really consider here in America, considering we're highest in murder, rape, theft, and every other crime that you guys can think of in the world, because, we like to be free. And that's just some few things to think about.
Jake.
You're talking about the crime rates in Britain, but I have a study here that shows that when Britain introduced a gun control law that limited how many people could get guns, crime rates increased with guns 52%. Then, when they just outright banned guns, they increased an additional 15%, leading to a 65% increase of crimes committed with a firearm, which kind of negates what you just said.
Thank you, Jake. Adrian.
Were those statistics proven in America? Were they made here, or were they from a world study? Because America can be a little bit biased, and I have also read that Britain has much lower crime rates, even in the past couple years, as Avi pointed out. And Britain, you can't really say that Britain's biased about their stuff, because they're not. They bag on themselves too much. Britain is very into they talk the truth. That's why I listen to the BBC in the night, not American news, because it's usually biased. So, in other words, that's why, as Avi said, Britain has lower crime rates. Usually, like the most that they can do is stab you with a knife, and you're more likely to get stabbed in Britain than you are here. But would you prefer some people to go around killing people like Jack the Ripper with a knife, or somebody who has an assault rifle and can kill like 6 people at a time on the street? When some guy has a knife, he can kill 1 person, and then other people will jump and take the knife away. Or if he has a gun, he can kill like 8 in a few seconds.
Okay, so someone brought up England and their no-gun policy and how there was like no violence there. Yeah, it was Avi. That's because they're British, Avi. When have they ever been good at violence? There's a reason they lost the war we fought with them and we had basically nothing. There's a reason we saved them in every war we've ever been involved in. And there's a reason they still have a queen. Because they can't even get rid of an old woman, honestly. They need to really step up their game. And I mean, like another sort of Family Guy, and he's like, I want to move to Britain. All they have is drive-by arguments. Because that's really it. That's really all they have going for them. And a lot of people have been saying, basically every argument or every conflict is going to turn into a gun match. I personally don't believe that because that's implying that anyone who owns a gun is desperately just waiting to use it. And I really don't think that's true. I don't think that anyone who owns a gun is a homicidal maniac just waiting for that opportunity to blow someone's head off. And what if every conflict does turn into an argument or does turn into a gunfight? We used to have duels back in the day when America was more awesome. And that worked out great, okay? One more thing. Someone said people back in the day were more sane. I know someone already refuted that. I'm just going to add to that Andrew Jackson once beat a man to death with a cane while he was president. So I don't think people back then were very sane. The Secret Service had to pull him off the guy, okay? So I think we've gotten a lot more mellow since those times. That's it.